Thank you so much, Lindsay. That was beautiful and wonderful. So we got a great topic today. All this month we're doing inclusion and diversity, a very, very powerful topic for us. And topic today is colorblind or colorful. Before I wanted to get into that topic, Reverend Nicole and I announced that we're going through this conscious uncoupling of our romantic relationship. We wanted to get through a little bit more of the process and give you a few more details, but I just want to share with you what that's about and how, in my mind, it just fits in with what we do around here, the culture of loving and kindness around here. So during this time, Reverend Nicole and I were reflecting back when we were in ministerial school together. And we both had the pleasure of being with the wonderful minister, Reverend Dr. Kathy Hearn. And what she told us is when we were training to be ministers, is you have to find a way to be a reliable context of spiritual truth. And that just calls us to double down and walk our talk and be the aspect of spirit that we need to be during this time frame. But once again, what I want you to understand, if you have any preconceived notions about people splitting up, getting divorces, whatever, this is a different way that we're doing it. And I know we all have had our past experience. I can say that. I've had some very bad breakups. But this experience is breaking up with love. And as I said, Nicole and I will still be almost best friends. We'll still love each other. We'll still bookend each other in our co-ministry. We'll help each other in our ministry. Because as you're in the spiritual life, it pushes you forward. And sometimes things change. And sometimes you just need to make another choice. But we can make that choice in love. So I want to read, we're being guided by a book called Conscious Uncoupling. I want to read you something from that, where the author puts it in a nutshell what it is. And she says it's characterized by a tremendous amount of generosity, goodwill, and respect, striving to do minimal damage to themselves, to each other, to the children, and to the community. At this time, they set up new agreements and structures to allow everyone to win, to flourish, and to thrive. Now, that sounds a lot like what I've said from this stage many a time. Our center is a center of love. So if you're on top of the world in the mountaintop experience, you walk through the back door, you're loved. If you're down in the dumps, can barely make it to church with a frown on your face, you're absolutely loved and accepted. And if you're wandering in the dark, trying to find your way, you're loved and accepted here. So this is the concept of how it can be. And as we go through the process, give us some time to go through the process. Who knows, we may be able to do a Zoom session with some question and answer for you later. But we need to do the process in our privacy. And we just ask you that you give us our privacy to go through the process. It's a 5-step process, and this group would like that, just like the 5 steps of treatment, it's 5 steps. First 3 is building yourself back up, and the second 2 is leaving in a great place with mutual admiration and respect. So it sounds like a good thing. And in the book, I'll give you one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite people I like to quote. It's Maya Angelou. And she says, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." So anyway, if you're struggling with that, go see a practitioner, go talk to someone, and there are no sides to take. If you want to take a side, I'll tell you to take Nicole's side, and Nicole will tell you to take my side. So there's no reason to take a side in any of this. It just is an expression of spirit in its unfolding. So let's get on to the topic, colorblind or colorful. This concept of inclusion and diversity. And the beauty of it, it is absolutely embedded in all of our spiritual principles, especially one called oneness. It's at the foundation of our teaching. It's about God or spirit or divine life or the universe and its relation to creation. Because you see, Out of the one comes everything, and out of the one, when it produced everything, produced a desire to know each other. And sometimes we get lost of that fact. And my favorite saying from Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind philosophy, is God is always God, but we are always a choice. And as Reverend Nicole loves to say, whenever there's humans involved, things get messy. So we're in the human experience and we're in the spiritual experience. And these basic principles are within us. And in the end, they win out and guide us. So oneness calls us to diversity and inclusion, because looking and practicing diversity and inclusion helps us to realize that oneness, to embody that oneness that we are. And it's a tough time, isn't it? It's a very polarized time. With all the social justice issues, with the Black Lives Matter, with the defunding the police, there's 2 or 3 different sides. And they're pretty clashing and going head to head. And myself and a lot of other ministers are looking at this and saying, now is the time to see things as they really are. That's a Buddhist concept. You need to see reality as it really is. And now it's not a time to make nice. It's a time to see things as they really are and how they've come to be. And if we do that, we can make progress. And it's time for us to know where we stand as individuals. Because if we're going to be part of this progress forward, which Spirit will guide us there, we have to understand where we are. And we have to be vulnerable on where we are and what we can do to help Spirit along and make this beautiful transition. And it's interesting because it's almost like a dis-ease, this back and forth. And we call sickness a disease. We use the term dis-ease because we're just out of our center. That's why we're arguing. And a lot of times when you have this inherent disease condition inside of you, when you get sick, it sort of amplifies it. And to me, that's what COVID-19 is doing. It's not creating the situation, it's amplifying it. COVID-19 is isolating us. So it's taken away the concept of having a personal dialogue. We can't get together and have a discussion and see the body language change and see, oh my God, did something I say really offend that? Or maybe they didn't understand what I'm saying. The social media is good. There may be some threads, but it's not a dialogue. And it's more of just threads with talking points repeated over and over again. So somewhere past all this, it's like we're in a fever. And the fever will break. And when it breaks, we'll move on to a better yet to be. I can guarantee you that. Yeah, there's danger in this tension on both sides, but something on the other side belongs to Spirit. And we will get there and we will find out what it is. Because our emergency spiritual values are pushing their way through. We all have our own role to take, and I encourage you to take a good hard look and see what role is good for you to take. The great John Lewis, who just passed, he was a foot soldier. Now, John Lewis didn't do the eloquent speeches that Dr. King did, but he was there to march across every bridge. And this is a quote from John Lewis. He says this: "We must never give up hope. Every day we must dress up, show up, and march on." So he was the one that showed up and marched across every bridge there was to march across. And he was fine having that foot soldier role, and look at the good that he did in his lifetime. So inclusion and diversity is an interesting subject for us because it's not something that we naturally do. Even us as a movement over 200 years ago, Ralph Waldo Emerson, introduced a essay called Self-Reliance that told us to not rely on anyone else, which was good. He was changing the paradigm of the day. He told us to go within and go to the strength within. Go to that wisdom that's within us and seek the power. Don't listen to the priest. Don't listen to the people of authority, because we have everything inside of ourselves. And that's our background in this New Thought movement. Our background is this rugged individualist, this person that their mind can do wonderful things. But now, as I said before, the oneness inside of us is pushing us to get to know one another. And inclusion and diversity cannot be done on our own. It cannot be done on a mountaintop. Just as the teachings of Jesus and Jesus exampled, he went into the masses and became as spiritual in the masses as he was in the mountaintop or the desert. So that's what inclusion and diversity is all about. We need to have the courage to wake up together, to be there, to fulfill the biblical aspect of truly becoming your brothers and sisters' keeper. And I want to share with you two concepts of diversity. The first is diversity simply is. It will not be challenged, because the beauty, creativity, and complexity are based on diversity. So a beautiful garden is many things. It's this beautiful tulip that we love. It's this beautiful rose that we love. It's the weed that we pull up. It's the bugs that are bothering us, but doing a very symbiotic and beautiful thing to the plants. It's the ugly slime on the ground that's feeding the plants. It's the mold and the bacteria. And so we don't want to be colorblind. We don't want to see everything. So when we're colorblind, we see everything the same, or we turn away. And for diversity, we want to turn toward the differences and not judge them as good or bad, but turn toward them and see the oneness that's embedded in all of those. It's a powerful place to be. And oneness does not mean sameness. Unity does not mean uniformity. We got to hear the symphony. Now, the symphony is composed of 50 or 60 musical instruments. And what symphony means is to sound together. So if we embrace this diversity, we can get the full beauty of the symphony. If you listen to the individual instruments, it would nowhere near measure up to the experience we have of the symphony. So I always like to think what guides us in understanding where we're going is our evolution of consciousness. So from the start, we'd like to know and be known. And sometimes the way we've done it through the years is to create affinity groups that are sort of like us. And we still do it today because there's value in doing that. We have men's group, we have women's group, but groups that are totally like us, and in a way that grew from the old way of doing things, the primitive brain, so to speak. Some people call it the reptilian brain. And the reason that is, it gives us psychological comfort zone. And it was done to survive and to do whatever it took. It means, if it means violence to others, to survive that way. So that's the one way of doing it. But that inside of us, that's so wise, that keeps telling us we're more than our conditions and our circumstances. It's that spark inside of us, that spark of oneness inside of us that never goes out. We may not give it food or fuel. We may not fan it enough to be a beautiful flame, but it's just waiting inside, and it's pressing its way through. The creative process is not going to stop. So, and in the end, when we embrace this oneness, this diversity, we will not lose our identity, but what we will do is we will impact the collective health of the planet and everyone we come in contact with. And so as we grow to the one, we grow together and powerful, powerful things happen. So a garden, as I said, has many, many varieties. And just to let you know, this minister you're looking at right now is the most privileged class in America, maybe the world, because I'm a white male, middle age, grew up in a suburb, intellectual family, got a good education. And the other thing about being a privileged person is I did nothing to earn it. So in the studies, that's called unearned privilege. So who am I to come and talk to multiple races about diversity? Well, so I reached out to my friend and colleague, Reverend Sunshine Day. I said, Reverend Sunshine, I'm the epitome of white privilege. I learned that in school. Give me some guidance on how I can speak to this topic where I'm genuine with all these folks. And she says, Reverend Michael, just talk about your experience and talk about getting beyond being colorblind. Because think about all of our automatic biases. And our automatic biases is stuff that we think we're thinking, but we're really not. Our automatic biases is stuff that's been embedded to us from all the generations before us. It's embedded to us from our peers. It's embedded to us from our parents. It's embedded to us from our history books. And so it makes us think, once again, this affiliation, being with those like one another, that someone that's not like us has certain characteristics. And that's what we want to get away from, because our brains take shortcuts. So a good example of that is, two examples is, so when I say colorblind, when we see something that's not like us, we either try and see it similar or we turn away from it. It's not just people of color. If we see a person that has a disability, you can sort of see they've been through a stroke. Sometimes, and I've been guilty of this, it's hard to look at. So I'd like to turn away from it. But if we go inside, that's the diversity that is the beauty of who we are. And we no longer have to turn away from it. So for example, you're late to work when we go back to work after this COVID-19 stuff. Someone's going real slow in front of you. And immediately what pops in your mind? Oh, that's a student just getting their driver's license. Or that's an old lady or a man. Why do they still have a driver's license? I'm gonna go take it away from them right now because they don't deserve to be on the road. See, automatic things pop into your mind. Then when you see the person, you pass and see the person, they were nothing what you expected. That was just all your subconscious thinking automatically or judging automatically. So let's be open to a different way. So think back and just take a moment. When COVID-19 is over, imagine you're going to invite some people to your house for dinner. And think about the people you would not be comfortable inviting to your house for dinner. And think about the reason why is that. Is that something that just popped up in you? Is that something that's ingrained inside of you? Perhaps. And Reverend Sunshine said I could share what she tells people when they're talking to her about diversity on a one-on-one issue, or not even one-on-one. She would tell them, when you see me, if you don't see the color of my skin, you don't see the glory of beauty walking around in this brown skin, the look of my hair, the fullness of my lips, my hips, you don't see the God expressed as I am. And so that's what we got to get away from, is that oneness is not sameness. Unity is not uniformity. We have to, in the Buddhist term, we have to see the world as it really is and see our role in it. And once again, there's power in these beautiful things of the rose and the tulip, but the weed and the moss and the bacteria, there's power for us there. And so if you're going to take any action, I'd encourage you to go find a person that's really different than you and go have a genuine conversation with them, not just a fact-finding mission that you say, oh, what do you do about this? What do you do about that? Have a genuine mission. Once again, bring another Buddhist concept in it. Show some compassion, and compassion in the Buddhist way means to sit with another and listen earnestly with your heart. And go find that person and go experience that and take your step forward to oneness. But let that creative urge inside of you push you forward, push you to look and explore and see the world as it is. And love the concept that it's part of the oneness that you are, that you aren't the entire ocean in a drop. You aren't the entire ocean, but you're the essence of that beautiful ocean, all the oneness in the ocean in a single drop. Thank you, and God bless you.